Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 8. Remember, our class is only 14 weeks long, so we have 6 weeks left. This week, we're going to continue to read Citizen. We'll continue to read in section 7, which are the situation videos. Last week, we talked about the situation video script she wrote about Hurricane Katrina, and this week, we will look at 3 more. They're found on pages 88 to 103. You'll also be looking at some associated content, including a video, and I'll go over that when we get to that part of the lecture. Then, after really thinking about these sections and maybe doing a little research, I want you to participate in the citizen discussion. Your initial post is due Saturday at 11:59 p.m., and then your responses to at least 3 of your peers' posts are due on Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. Please make sure that you try and participate in this discussion. This week, you will not be able to see any of your peers' responses until you post your own response. So choose which situation you most connected with, and you'll be writing about that one. This week, we're going to continue with our writing assignment 4, this is the last week of it. During this week, you're going to go to the Writing Center to go over your draft and or your final draft and write a full paragraph about your experience. Some of you are just writing little tiny paragraphs and you want to make sure that you write the whole paragraph, okay? Then you're going to be turning in your final writing assignment, your final draft, by Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. This is worth 50 points. So please make sure you put time and effort. The idea is, I think by the time you turn this in, you've had enough feedback and you've gotten a lot of information so that you can craft a very good essay. Please make sure there are no spelling errors, there's no grammatical errors. Really spend time thinking about this draft before you turn it in, okay? All right, let's start with Citizen. You're going to be reading pages 88 to 103, and then you're going to watch the video content, which is just one of the situation videos. Here's the 3 situations you're going to be reading about. The first one is in memory of Trayvon Martin, February 26, 2012. This section, it's named after Trayvon Martin, but it doesn't delve into the details of that tragedy. But you should be aware, if you aren't aware of what that tragedy is, please research it and get information about it. It's a very important event. And the actual cover of the book is related to that as well. So instead, this situation it's a larger rumination on the solidarity born from racism, centered around the narrator's quote unquote brothers. Here, that term brothers may refer to blood relatives or a larger type of family. And here's a quote from the text. My brothers are notorious. They have not been to prison. They have been imprisoned. The prison is not a place you enter. It is no place. My brothers are notorious. They do regular things like wait. On my birthday, they say my name. They will never forget that we are named. What is that memory? She's created a video about that uses the script, and I'd like you all to watch that. So watch situation 5, just a few minutes. The next situation, which begins on page, I'd also like you to think about the artwork that she includes in each of these sections. So for example, the one on page 91 that's connected to the situation in memory of Trayvon Martin is of a lynching. But you'll notice that the part of the photograph that is shown is only the white people that are down below staring at the bodies. You can't see the bodies of the 2 young men that have been lynched. And I think that's important to think about the perspective she chose about this photograph. Okay, then the next section is in memory of James Craig Anderson. And the date is June 26, 2011. This begins on page 92. James Craig Anderson was the victim of a hate crime in Jackson, Mississippi, when 18-year-old Darrell Dedman fatally ran over Anderson with a pickup truck. This section opens with a scene of someone watching a pickup truck on screen. In the next frame, the pickup truck is in motion. Its motion activates its darkness. The pickup truck is a condition of darkness and motion. The narrator engages in imagined conversation with Dedman, asking questions that emphasize the loathsome nature of his crime. The pickup is human in this predictable way. Do you recognize yourself, Dedman? The section concludes with the narrator feeling angry over this senseless murder and then having to let that anger go, not because they're over it, but because they must let this all-consuming anger go in order to get on with their life. And again, there is a piece of art on page 96 and 97 connected to this. And remember, you can always look in the back. This art is Mail 2 and 1 from 1996. And it's done by John Lucas. And I would love for you to look up this artist and understand, and this is the art, understand why she would be including this piece of art. The last situation you're going to be reading about is called Jenna 6, December 4th, 2006. Again, all three of these are news events, and it's important that you know what she's talking about. So if my explanation here is not detailed enough, please do look these up. This one is about the Jenna 6 who, aggravated by racist treatment at school, these teenagers, 6 black teenagers in Jenna, Louisiana, were convicted in the 2006 beating of Justin Barker, a white high school student. This section goes back in time before anyone knew this would be a historic event. The narration follows the teenagers as the moments prior to the beating of Justin Barker unfold. So this part of the book is really where Claudia Rankine is intensifying her exploration of experimental form, right? She's using these situation videos as a way to almost process these inconceivable, these horrible acts. And the condition of blackness, she's looking at it as a condition of detachment. So in order to exist, Rankine explains that African Americans must hold their own pain at an objective distance. As she says, occasionally it is interesting to think about the outburst. If you would just cry out to know what you'll sound like is worth nothing, is worth noting. In a way, it is a form of self-alienation. So the idea is that these situations are meant for us to really think through her emotional response to these events and in African Americans' emotional response to these events. When she was asked about why she wrote this book about microaggressions, Rankine answered, "I put this book together as a way of interrogating microaggressions in the terms of day-to-day racism in the United States. Often I'm asked, why did you write that? And I think it's because when macroaggressions, huge aggressions that happen to people, people often say, how did that happen? As if we haven't been building up to that moment day to day, every day for hundreds of years." So Darrell Dedman, with his friends, decided that they would get into their pickup truck and drive until they saw the first black person they could see. And then they would get out of their pickup truck and they would beat that person to a pulp. And so that's what they did. Often people think that someone like Dylan Roof is an anomaly, and he is just one of many homegrown terrorists in the United States. And you wonder, on the other side of that, what about what young men in the white bodies feel? Why they feel like killing black people will empower them in some way? Like, what is lacking? What is going into the space of that lie? And so one of these kids, Deadman, got back into the pickup truck and ran it over his crawling body on the asphalt. It was all recorded on cameras of the motel, and then the kids went to McDonald's where Deedman said, quote, "I ran that N word over," and so that was recorded. Because of those two recordings, he was convicted, but none of the other teenagers with him were until recently. The federal government reopened the case and tried them. And if you want to read the full interview, there's lots of great content here. There's a link to it here. Okay. So after watching the situation video and reading these 3 situation videos, I'd like you to choose which one you're connecting with the most. Okay. And you need to answer the following questions about the one you've chosen. So what event is Rankine referring to in her situation script? Describe the event and its impact. If she is not directly responding to an event, why has she dedicated this section to the person named? If there is a situation video associated with the content, how does the video relate to the text? What feelings does it evoke? This is only in reference to the first situation. How does Rankine's approach to the topic invoke feeling? How does her writing make you feel? Okay? Please use quotations from the text and whatever information you can add. Okay? Your response to your peers' post, which you won't be able to see your peers' post till you post your own post. Okay? But your responses will be due on Tuesday, and you need at least 3 of them, you guys. Okay? They're due by Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. All right, guys. The other thing we're working on this week is your writing assignment. Okay, this is 4C. This is the 3rd week of your writing assignment. So it's your final draft. So this week we are in the 3rd week of a 3-week writing journey. This week we will work on editing and revision, how to go from rough draft to final draft. So each week you're going to need to find time to visit the writing center. It's no different this week. And you'll need to write a full paragraph about your experience, okay? Here's some questions that you could possibly ask yourself when you're reflecting on your experience, but please make sure it's at least a full paragraph. Remember, a full paragraph has at least 12 sentences too, okay? As a reminder, here's your prompt for the assignment. Write a 4 to 5 page paper in MLA format that examines one of the issues currently being debated in this year's election. What makes this topic so controversial? And do you think there is common ground between the 2 sides on this topic? Your paper should have an introduction that introduces a thesis statement, several body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Your final draft is due on Tuesday, election day, so please make sure you guys vote. You all have that right, and it's an amazing right that we have to vote. So please exercise your right to vote. So don't let my essay get in the way of your voting on Tuesday, okay? But please take note that the essay is worth 50 points. So please spend time on your essay. I'm going to give you lots of tips in the rest of this lecture on how to improve your paper, but please make sure you do the basics of running spell check, proofreading, read it aloud so you can hear your mistakes, okay? So we are in the final phase of the academic writing process. This is when we revise and we edit. So while you finish your final draft, you want to consider the template of the form of your essay. So you're going to begin by writing an introduction. You'll begin with a hook. This sets the tone of your paper. Like you want to ask a question, right? A question about the topic you're writing about. That really invokes your reader to get interested in your topic. Or you can tell a very brief story that sets the scene. Or you can lead with a quotation. Okay, the more specific you are, the more powerful you are in your writing. Then you want to introduce your topic. What topic are you writing about? And why is it a controversial topic? Okay, then you're going to state your thesis, which is your topic and your purpose. And your thesis should always answer your prompt. Then you're going to develop your body paragraphs. They should be subtopics that prove your thesis, and each body paragraph should clearly cover a subtopic and relate the subtopic back to the thesis. Each subtopic is supported with ample evidence or quotations that support the points that you're making in your paper. You need examples. You don't just write, this is what I think. Use examples that support what you think. And then in the end, in your conclusion, how have you proven your thesis? What has the reader gained by reading your paper? And how does your paper relate to a larger purpose? Now, remember, your paper needs to be in MLA format. There is an example paper at this link if you have questions. Follow the link and look at it. You can also ask me. You can take it to the Writing Center and ask them. It's very important that you get your MLA format down, okay? Here are some ideas on how to really improve your paper once you have your final draft completed. Think about using transitions between thoughts in your essay, and also, most importantly, between paragraphs. You always want the reader to feel like they're flowing from one thought to another in your essay. So if you're using some sort of a logical relationship of time, like after, or afterward, or at last, before, those words really signify to the reader where they are at in time. You can use words like but, however, in spite of, or on the other hand, to talk about an exception or a contrast. Maybe you want to show similarity between two things. Also, in the same way, just as, so too, likewise. Maybe you want to give an example. You say something like, for example, for instance. If you want to emphasize something, use words like even, indeed, in fact, of course, truly. Or maybe you want to place or position something above, adjacent, below, beyond, here, in front of, in back, nearby, there. Or show cause and effect. Accordingly, consequently, hence, so, therefore, thus, okay? Or maybe you're adding in additional support or evidence. Additionally, again, also, as well, besides, equally important, further, summary, furthermore, in addition, moreover, then. And then when you're concluding and when you're summarizing things, you say words like finally, in a word, in brief, briefly, in conclusion, in the end, in the final analysis, on the whole, thus, to conclude. And to conclude is a great way to end with your last paragraph. To summarize, in sum, to sum up, in summary, okay? Also, how do you write with style and engage your readers? Okay, so the transitions will help your writing flow, but here's where you want to think about when you're editing your paper. You have a draft, now start editing it, right? You want to use details to capture your reader's attention. So bring your issues to life with sensory details, like what it looks like specifically, what it sounds like, what it smells like, right? That those things can really make our imaginations come alive. Write clearly and concisely. So avoid unnecessary modifiers. These are like empty words like fine, many, great, somewhat, quite, sort of, lots, really, and very. Get rid of all those words in your essay. Also avoid unnecessary introductory phrases such as there are, there is, there have, here are, here is, has been reported that, it has been said that, it is evident that, it is obvious that. So do searches for all these phrases and get rid of them. And also avoid any stock phrases like cliches that you've heard over and over again. These are some stock phrases. As a matter of fact, you can change it to in fact, at all times, always. At that point in time becomes then. At this point in time becomes now or currently. Because of the fact that becomes because. By means of, by. Due to the fact that becomes because. In order to becomes to. In spite of the fact that becomes although or though. And in the event that becomes if. One more way to write with style, or two more ways, is to write actively. Go back through your writing and make sure that you're writing in an active way. So a sentence written in the active voice keeps the subject and the verb near the beginning of the sentence. So the passive example would be, the book that questions racism today in America was written by Claudia Rankine. The active version would be, Claudia Rankine wrote. So Claudia Rankine is the subject and wrote, right, is the verb. What did she write? A book. that questions racism in America. So that is an active sentence. The second sentence, the book that questions racism today in America, was written by Claudia Rankine, is a passive sentence. You want active, okay? You also want to adopt a consistent point of view. Make sure you stay in a single point of view. In the first person, using I or we. In the second person, you, which we're not using for this essay, but we have before, right? Or the third person, she, he, it, one, or they. Don't shift within one sentence, okay? All right, guys, that's it. All right. So by the end of this week, you're going to watch this lecture. You're going to read Citizen 88 through 103 and look at the associated content. You're going to participate in the discussion, remembering that you need your main post by Saturday at 11:59 p.m. And then you need to respond to 3 of your peers posts by Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. That's for 20 points. You need to visit the Writing Center and go over your final draft and turn in a full paragraph about your experience. That's worth 10 points. And then you're going to turn in your writing assignment. This is your final essay, and it's worth 50 points. So spend your time on it. Questions? You can always reach out to me via email, or you can stop by my office hours. All right? Otherwise, I will see you online. Bye, guys. You're doing great.